Before we explore the idea of time, how it is and why it is, and how you can alter the past, present and future, let's firstly take a look at our physical third dimension within which time exists. We know that we live in a physical reality. We have our bodies, we have our environment. There are two other realms associated with this physical reality. The first being the astral plane, also known as the fourth dimension, and that's where our thoughts and desires manifest prior to coming into our physical reality. The other is the spirit realm, which is where departed spirits go, in between lifetimes or incarnations. And when your soul decides it no longer wishes to experience a physical existence, then it moves on from the spirit realm into the higher dimensions. Let us look at the third dimension. It is completely unique within creation. Nowhere else is there a concrete physical existence such as this. When we are not in a physical reality, our true natural environment is pure consciousness. And pure consciousness can take any form at will. So, in order to create something that is not our natural form of being, an illusion had to be manifested. And so, of course, divinity created our physical illusion, our third dimension. It's kind of a bubble of unreality, although of course it feels so real to us while we are in it. In order to have the honour, and it is an honour, to come in and experience something that is so unique, your soul had to agree to do something that is completely astonishing. Your soul agreed to come into separation. But separation from what? Well, separation from God, separation from soul awareness, separation from the rest of creation, all the other dimensions of existence, and separation from the true oneness of creation, separation from each other. We literally are separated by physical bodies. It was an astonishing thing to do, for your soul to say, yes, I will come into a physical reality and I will lose remembrance of all of these things. As such, our lack of perception of a direct experience of divinity, of the higher dimensions, of our own soul awareness and a true oneness with each other, has led to all manner of consequences, challenges and opportunities for each of us here in the third dimension. I have another module of wisdom that is based upon the idea of this separation, and the Ascended Masters put forward a very simple but truly beautiful solution to coming to terms with the separation, of beginning to reawaken to your soul awareness, to your divine experience, to the rest of creation, and to become much more closer to other beings in human form. So do please seek this out. So in order to create this illusion, a quarantine had to be formed so that you, as the aspect or part of your soul that extended itself into physical form, could truly and utterly believe the reality in which you occupy, which in truth, as we know, is an illusion, an ingenious illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. So how did this happen? Well, next we're going to look at two things that enable the illusion of physical existence to come into being and to be sustained. Well, we briefly touched upon the idea of the third dimension and how it was that your soul and my soul and every other soul in human form had to agree to come into the illusion of separation. There are two things that enable separation to occur. And once I mention them, of course, they'll seem very familiar. It is space and time, otherwise known as the space-time continuum. Space is the context within which time can occur. But it is time that is literally the backbone of the illusion. Time enables separation to occur. How is this so? Well, time gives us one very fundamental thing, and that is, of course, the cycle of birth and death, which I like to call birth and rebirth. It gives us then the opportunity to believe that we are living one lifetime at a time. It enables us to bring our focus to this one lifetime. I'm a big fan of near-death experience stories and tales and information, and I've read many books. And one of the most common things that near-death experiencers mention as part of their journey into the beyond the illusion, is that they see truly that time doesn't exist, that it is a construct, a mechanism. There's many stories of angels in particular. For example, if somebody was driving along and was just about to have a major head-on collision, all of a sudden they have reported that their perception of time seemed to slow down to a point of standstill, that they seem to have all the time in the world to understand that they are just about to have a life-changing tragedy. And angels in particular seem to have the ability to actually halt time, to reverse it, and to put into place a new reality. So one lifetime is enabled by the cycle of birth and rebirth. It leads us then to believe that time is sequential, that we have past lifetimes, that we have a present lifetime, and that hopefully we will have a future lifetime. Well, the masters tell us this simply isn't so. It seems like that while we exist within time, and while we choose to perceive it as a linear experience. But what happens if you take time out of the equation? Well, if time was released from our dimension, then our illusion would cease to be. We would become completely aware that the natural state of being within creation is within what is often called the eternal one moment. That is to say, that everything is occurring simultaneously, all at once, in the one moment. And in fact, there is an absence of time, so that even using the term moment is misleading, but we don't have any other alternative terms. So it is the simultaneous nature of existence, the fact that every single lifetime in any dimension, including here in our third dimension of physical reality, is being experienced all at once, all at the same time. For we humans whom are so used to time, this is perhaps a strange concept and can be a bit of a challenge to come to terms with. But for me, it makes perfect sense. And in that context, there are no past lifetimes. There are no future lifetimes. There is only the present lifetime. But that present lifetime incorporates all lifetimes. So the Masters say to us, given that time is not sequential and all lifetimes are simultaneous, the idea of evolution or spiritual progression is actually irrelevant because it isn't sequential. So, for example, they say, this lifetime you may believe, and I certainly do, that I'm a reasonable person, that I'm on a spiritual path, and I feel as though I've made headway on that path, and that to the best of my ability I try to be a good person. And that this lifetime then I would probably be drawn to believe is built upon the lifetime that went before, and having did my best in this lifetime, then I would anticipate that my next lifetime I would pick up where I left off. Well, this isn't true. They say your next lifetime you could be a caveman, and your last lifetime you could have been a saint, a guru, the Dalai Lama. It doesn't matter about sequential, spiritual, or evolutionary progression. And we'll come to see why there's one very good reason why your soul isn't concerned with enlightenment. So given that all lifetimes are simultaneous, it's an incredibly liberating idea. It takes the pressure off us, particularly those of us who do feel as though we are on a spiritual path. It takes that pressure off to strive to come into what we call enlightenment, whatever that may be, or to some sort of awakening. It doesn't have to occur in this lifetime. So do not be disheartened if you feel as though it isn't occurring for you. It certainly may well. But for most of us, it probably won't. But that doesn't mean in another lifetime that's happening right now that you aren't enlightenment, however that looks. That you aren't enlightened, illuminated, fully awakened. But in actual fact, outside of space and time, in the eternal one moment, you are perfect at a soul level because you have already experienced it all, are experiencing it all, and will experience it all. You are already a perfect child of God. It's only our humanness in the illusion that is imperfect, and our humanness is simply a garment that we wear of mind and emotion and personality while we are here. In fact, our humanness is designed to not be perfect, because that's where our opportunities and challenges are. Remembering that this is an unreality, an illusion quarantined from the rest of creation and the rest of our lifetimes in all dimensions, so that we can experience something that cannot be experienced outside of an illusion. So there's no point coming here to experience perfection, because you are already perfect in the eternal now. So our soul wishes to experience something else. There is another wonderful consequence of linear time being an unreality, that simultaneous existence is the true reality. And the Masters give us an example, and they say, if you were a murderer in a particular lifetime, or many lifetimes, and when they say murderer, they say someone who willfully goes and causes harm, who willfully goes and murders, not someone who is obliged and has to go to war, or has to protect their family and loved ones in some way. But if you consciously decide that you will kill people or that you enjoy war, then so it is. That's what has happened. And in that lifetime, it is so that you have the consciousness of someone who could kill for pleasure. However, if in another lifetime, given that they're not sequential, given that they are occurring all at once, say for example, hopefully, this lifetime, you cannot possibly conceive of willfully hurting, harming, or killing somebody else, or even another creature, then that is your present consciousness. And so all those lifetimes where you have consciously and willfully hurt and harmed and killed others simply cease to be. It's not as if you have set them right or relived them to do it better. It ceases to be. And this is why. Because when all lifetimes and all existences are simultaneous, there's one common thing to all those lifetimes. And that is, of course, you, your consciousness. So as you change your consciousness in one lifetime, it changes all lifetimes, because all lifetimes are connected to your consciousness. And in fact, all lifetimes and all of that experience doesn't exist outside of your consciousness. It exists within you. So again, if you change your consciousness in one lifetime such as this, all lifetimes are reshaped. Even those that we regard are the past, even those that we regard are the future. So all those lifetimes where your consciousness was one of conflict and harm do not exist, because it no longer exists in your consciousness. It's so simple and so liberating. However, the masters do remind us that the law of karma does exist. It exists here in our illusion. So there are consequences for any harmful actions. And that is because in our third dimension there is a perpetual balance that needs to be kept. So karma is an issue, but karma is only relevant to the illusion, to our physical dimension, and therefore it is illusion also. So it's a marvellous way of looking at things, and it is truly an expansive way. So again, you do not need to become enlightened necessarily in this lifetime. It doesn't mean that if you are impulsed to do that, if you have this strong desire to seek that out, that isn't possible. That certainly is possible. And any impulse, any strong desire to do a particular thing that is positive and uplifting and so forth is usually impulsed from your soul. It's your soul and also your team, your guides and teachers who work with your soul, who are bringing you this impulse so you know that you're on the right track. It's a marvellous thing that we have a team. It is tempting to believe that perhaps we are here on our own. We might say, yes, I know I have a soul, and I know there is a God, and there are angels, and there are departed loved ones. But most people believe that they are living their lives through only themselves, that they are the only ones responsible for their lives. But we have a magnificent team of beings who co-create our lives with us in consultation, of course, with your soul. We were part of this team, and we still are part of this team. We are simply the ones who came into the field, who came into the illusion, into the unreality of physical existence. But that existence was co-created, a blueprint created by our team in spirit. It's a wonderful and comforting thought. So if your team and your soul desire to move you in a certain direction, that will certainly happen. But there is really only one thing and one reason that your team and that your soul would move you into a particular direction, which is why you could be a caveman in the next lifetime and have been a saint in the previous lifetime. Because again, spiritual evolution is irrelevant. You are already perfect. But what is relevant to your soul is the one thing that it's searching for that cannot be found outside of this dimension in this unique way. Again, I love near-death experience recollections, and many of them speak of passing over and of course having that classic life review where the whole life flashes before them in a timeless way. And in that life review, you get to experience not only the feeling of those events, but how others felt in relation to you and to your thoughts and actions. And often this can be harrowing for some people, depending, of course, upon the life that you have lived. There is no judgment at all, no one there to judge you. There is usually, of course, the intelligent light, the unbelievable light of love that is present, but it's only present to hold you through the judgment that you place upon yourself. So our soul isn't concerned with what you have done or what you have not done. It's you that judges that when you pass over. Our soul is concerned with divinity, only with divinity. Of course, who wouldn't be completely focused upon the presence that is so mind-bogglingly vast and astounding and astonishing and beautiful and love. So our soul chooses to seek an experience of divinity in every dimension. For us here in our third dimension, we relate God to love. And this is confirmed to us time and again, that we are love, that creation is the energy of love, and divinity is the source of all love. So your soul is seeking a deeper and new experience of love. That's all. And when we put love into action, it becomes service. So your soul is seeking only love and service in any lifetime, which is why your soul and your team will place you into a caveman in the next lifetime or a saint the previous lifetime. Because it doesn't matter what role or level of attainment you are in a lifetime. It only matters how love is brought to the surface of your consciousness in that lifetime. And your soul will place before you all manner of circumstance, all manner of opportunity, in order to bring love to the surface in a unique way, because remembering that you have the illusion of separation. So to come into love despite, for the most part, for most people, experiencing some form of separation from a true direct experience of the divine, a true direct experience of the rest of creation, of the feeling of complete oneness with everything else in creation, and from the absolute beauty of your own soul to come into love, particularly of self, despite this separation, is an astounding triumph and is what the soul is seeking. It is so simple. The masters tell us time and again, spirituality is simple, and it's only we humans who make it far more complicated than it needs to be. We have invented religions and spiritual philosophies in order to somehow cross the threshold of this separation. But in actual fact, all forms of spirituality and all religions in this illusion are illusion, because outside of this dimension, we are just who we are. We are love, and we are divine, and we are perfect, and we do not need spirituality. But while we're here, it gives us an opportunity to come into a deeper resonance with love. I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. You may or may not agree with what has been put forward, and that is perfectly fine. The masters say that they do not present necessarily truth, because to them, truth is also irrelevant. Truth is a fluid thing, because all forms of knowing pass through your consciousness like an ever-flowing river. And if we try and stop that flow by saying that's a truth, then for the most part humans tend to not move beyond it. They go, okay, I have the truth now. It turns into ideology and people get stuck. So they don't hold to the idea of truth. They say they simply bring us insights and concepts that can help expand us beyond where we have been. And I hope that you have found some expansion in these words this day. Perhaps this material is very familiar to you, or perhaps not. Please look for more teaching modules in this White Star Temple series. And thank you for listening. And I'm Soltec, speaking to you from Australia. All the best, and bye for now.